All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome on a Saturday, a kind of a snowy Saturday, if you will, to pull up a chair. Today, pulling up a chair, we got a couple of great guests. I'll let them kind of introduce themselves and a little bit about themselves. And, they're one's a developer and one's a monster gamer. Kind of introduce themselves on what their passions are and what they do within the industry. And then we'll get rolling on some subjects. I'll start out with you, John.
All right. Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm John Turnbull, and I'm the creator of Powder Blue Sports. And right now, there's I think 4 games on the market. Got Drive Time Football, Baseline Basketball, Fight Card Boxing, and Red Ice Hockey. And I'll soon be coming out with a baseball game here in the spring that I'm going to be debuting at IndyCon here in April. So I'm furiously getting that ready to go. I'm as far as a gaming background, was mostly a baseball person back in the day. Started out with Superstar Baseball and a little bit of Status Pro, and then from there, after my adulthood started, going into actually Sherco Baseball. That I've been trying to revive back that. I played tons of Sherco, the old version back in the day. And then obviously took a break and then went into the computer realm. I run the website for a Diamond Mind baseball series of leagues called Seasons Past Baseball. And I think we got 5 leagues going right now from the 1930s to the 1980s. So I run the website, and I'm a commissioner in one of those leagues and then participant in 2 of those. So that's been going on since 1992. So that's been a very long time endeavor. And then during COVID, got the itch for starting to create some quick play games, and we'll save the talk as far as why and all that here as we get on in the show.
Sounds great, John. Okay, how about we flip over to the birthday boy? Everybody in chat, make sure that you wish Mr. Fowler a wonderful birthday and to thank him for coming on his birthday. I think he's just trying to get it out there that it's his birthday and he wanted to get on a show and make sure everybody knew and send him gifts and stuff like that. But Brad, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. First of all, 6'5" is no longer just my height. So I got my.
Oh, wow.
I'm signed up with Medicare. I got my supplement. I'm ready to get good and sick now. No, thanks for having me on. Monster Gamer, did you call me? I'm not sure what that. Yeah, hopefully it's a friendly monster. I'm almost reluctant to share my story because you've already heard it. It's so similar to what you hear from so many gamers. I started out. Really started out. My first set was a 1973 Stratomatic baseball. Got it for Christmas, and that's one of the best Christmases I ever had. Played it, played Strat almost exclusively. Football, basketball, baseball, up until the time I started having kids. My wife and I started a family, and that does push gaming to the side a bit. So got out of it, stayed into the computer sims because they were a little easier to manage. You're not taking up quite a footprint, and your daughters aren't using your cards to build Barbie houses and things like that. So did that until about 2 or 3 years ago, and started thinking about retirement and what am I going to do during retirement. And as luck would have it, I was surfing YouTube one night, and there's this guy on there, Kurt Berglund, and he's about as nuts over this stuff as I am. I think most of us are introverted, so we kind of live in our own world. We really don't know what's going on outside our world, and even in the hobby. And so anyway, started watching Kurt, and then all of a sudden, algorithms doing what they do. I started seeing here's this Marco guy. He looks pretty passionate. He seems to be excited about stuff. And, then the rabbit hole was open, and you find this wonderful community. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is such a wonderful community, and we should not take this for granted. You don't find these kind of people everywhere you go. Professionally, certainly, I've spent a lot of time around a lot of groups, and I would put this one against any of them as far as find people who are more than willing to help. You know, I almost become reluctant to ask for help because I get more than I want to. You know, people are so nice, and I don't mean that bad. They're just so giving. Got back into the cards and dice. I think there's a comfort in doing things by hand. Still use some helpers, you know, because I'm not quick enough to keep up with all the. And we'll talk about that more as we get into the express games. But I think that's probably the crux of the story. Again,
what C&D game, Brad, did you jump back? You said, you know, Strat was your game early in life.
Yeah.
But when you said you jumped back in after computer games, I'm just interested. What C&D games did you jump back into?
I will embarrassingly admit soccer was the first one that I got into, Soccer Blast Express, and I am probably the least soccer fan in this community. I think it was probably 22 World Cup. I thought, well, let's try this, and it struck me as I was thinking about this show and this discussion. Right now, about everything I'm doing is play games. Now that you know, not by design necessarily. It's just where I am right now. I do have looked at John's game, and I'm very intrigued, and that will soon make its way on the tabletop. Fast drive football, fast inning baseball. Those were probably the first ones to get me in, and then I stumbled on the play, and now History Maker Baseball has become quite an obsession. Never played baseball year round, but I'm going to this year. I can tell you that. It's such a playable game.
Yeah. Is that your passion sport, baseball? If you had to pick one, like I kind of always say this to people, if you had to get rid of all sports but one, now I'm talking about as far as not watching on TV, but playing on your on your tabletop, what would be your sport?
Basketball would be number one. College basketball, particularly. Yeah, it is. I listened to the podcast, the Play podcast the other day, and Keith was talking about his new, college play down set coming out. I think it was James Cast on the fly calculated that the player team creation would get you about 14 billion teams. This morning I expressed my concern to Keith about that, but if he promises to get, I don't think that'll be enough for me. 14 billion teams. I think I'll run through them pretty quickly. But,
there you go.
I love basketball. Baseball is very strong too. And then there's quite a gap to football.
Okay. All right. How about you, John? Because I know you play as much as you develop. I'm assuming. What's your game of choice?
Oh, well, to be honest, even when I got the itch back during COVID, I went straight to developing.
Really?
Because I was still involved with my diamond mine stuff, and I actually got History Maker Baseball Express. So I played a little bit of that, but yeah, I actually have a full play game that I was actually developing during COVID. It's still well in the mothballs and will probably never see the light of day, but and then I started getting back into, okay, which one do I want to play as far as the longer form games, and Sherco was probably the one that I'll probably end up going back to if I have to go back to a long form game. But for me, I, especially at this point with 4 games already created and two more will be coming this year, I'm finding myself creating more than playing. Yeah, and that's I love to play, but there's a mental balance between guilt and pleasure, trying to figure out, do I want to play something or do I want to spend my time making something? So,
do you feel like your passions are split down the middle then? Like
between playing and developing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by all means.
Yeah.
I think I get a lot more satisfaction of seeing the results of something I created, and even more seeing what other people do with what I've done. I've got one guy who just finished the entire 23-24 NHL season. He rolled all 1,312 or however many games, and he's in the playoffs right now. And the stats that I need to post it on the hockey page here shortly, but the stats that he came up with were very, very well in line with real life stats. So there's variability in there, and you want that. But I was pleased with how it turned out, and honored that he was used my game to play, the whole season with.
Well, I can definitely say that trying to do that, because I'm doing that for 24-25 with Hockey Blast Express, and I'm on game like 250. So, and I've been back and forth with many different things in the air project wise. So, but that takes a while, definitely. So everybody in the chat here, I don't know if you guys can see the chat, but they're all wishing you a happy birthday, Brad. You're getting a lot of happy birthday stuff. So just letting you know, John Hacko's been in there with some happy birthday stuff and others. Okay. So I want to kind of first hit that subject of Express, because I think it's something all three of us definitely are into. And let's find out if we're aligned on why we like it. Because I think I definitely have a maybe not a unique, but because you guys mentioned both of you have mentioned I think you did, Brad, but I know John did, the History Maker Express baseball. I have it. And it's in mothballs in my, because I've always said that I'm sometimes more of a collector than I am a player, or a little bit of both. I have it because I always want it just in case I need it. But my attitude and the reason that I do Express games is because of time. Not that I don't have time. I have tons of time. It seems like, but for me, like I'm playing History Maker. I'm playing that Leap set right now. It's right here on my desktop. And I can play a game in 10 minutes, a full out History Maker baseball game in 10 minutes, 15 max if it's, I'm constantly hitting the ding charts. But for me, why would I want to express something that I can play in 10 to 15 minutes? So I don't see the value in a baseball Express. That's me. Unless you're just rolling some dice to get a final score but I figure, man, if I can do it in 10 to 15 minutes and get all stats, why would I want to do an Express game that's going to give me partial stats? So, but now if you're going to talk hockey, soccer, basketball, and those sports, you're talking 2 and 3 hour games, sometimes hour and a half hockey game, knocked down to 15 minutes. There's where I see the value. So for me, I Express games love Express games for the timing piece of it. But Brad, seeing that you are really, I have seen a lot of your stuff on Express. Why do you do Express, and what turns you that way?
Well, it's funny because as you were talking about that, I started out with Express, History Maker Baseball Express, and I think it was in Denver where I was talking with Mike Canistrari about baseball, and I told him I played Express, and he kind of spit on me, like, yeah, you got it, you don't need it. So he started the Leap project, and I decided, okay, let's try I'll try to learn History Maker Baseball. Yeah, I'm not down to 15 minutes. I don't want to get down to 15 minutes, frankly. I'm a slow play guy. I like to, think about what's happening and weave my own narrative. So, but yeah, I can do History Maker Baseball now, 30 minutes, easy. And that helps me. It helps me move projects along. I think probably all of us have a similar story too. We started out, I'm going to do, 162 games for 32 teams, and I won't live long enough to do that. So this is a way to, another year's gone by, so here.
Yeah.
But no, you right size your projects, and again, have to give James Caston kudos there. He has brought what I wanted to never again have to think about after I retired, project planning. He does it in a way that makes sense. Let's don't build a structure that we have to live with, but let's build a structure that works for what we want to do. So I'm rambling and getting a foot here, but what I like about Fast Express express, not fast play. And I'm not too crazy about the one dice roll to get a result. There's a place for that, but not for mine. But right sizing the project and then getting something that keeps things moving along. For instance, if I may, right now I'm working on the 1961 Continental League. And,
I just purchased that.
You'll love it. If you're a baseball historian at all, you'll love it because it's all real players. Most of them you haven't heard of or barely heard of. But anyway, kind of played off a concept that I think it was Dave Gardner threw out there a while back. What if we played a 6-inning game? A shortened game, move it along quicker, and you can get more done. I tried that with this, and I'm liking it. It is a different game. It's generating stats that are going to be different, but still relative within the project. And it changes the game. You're in the bottom of the fifth. You might think about sacrifice bunting. You're not going to steal any bases with that set. I can tell you that. There are a lot of stoics in 1961.
Okay.
So you kind of have to make your own breaks. But so I guess that's my long-winded answer to it keeps me moving on projects, allows me to Express allows me to play games in a reasonable amount of time and accumulate enough of them. If I play a 2.5 hour game, I'm thinking about, well, gee, I could have done 5 games Express and moved the ball further down the field on this. But yeah, Highlight Maker Hoops, I think is an excellent Express game. I do a lot of, as you probably referred to, fast inning baseball. Done a couple of nice projects on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can knock 3 games out of that in about 30 minutes and keep it going. And we'll get to the stats here in a bit. But.
Yeah. So on the Express side, because you brought up some good points in there. Express, first off, that quick dice roll to get a score, that's not Express to me, and I think you're saying
no,
the same thing.
I call it
that's instant. That's like instant.
Yeah.
Express is still getting a story out of that, like you talked about earlier, that you like to get a story out of the game. I really feel I get that out of John's games. I really like his basketball game because you can still get some scoring in it. Individual scoring, the players and stuff. So I really think that helps because there's no basketball game out there like that gives kind of what John's does. I know the History Maker Hoops does that a little bit. I haven't really. I've got the I've got the prime time and I've got the regular Hoops game from them, and that's one of those weird ones that I actually like the full version better than I like the quicker version but it takes like 3 hours to play a hoops game. And it's like, oh, but it's so interesting with those big, huge fat cards. And right. I don't know, just once again, Keith found a way to make a 3-hour game work. So it works, but my gosh, putting 3 hours on your tabletop, as you said, Brad, the whole time I was playing that game, like last weekend, I'm going, I could have played 10 baseball games and full games. And it's hard.
John, matchup college football may be the best game I've ever run across, frankly, but I can't do it. I love ST, and ST, if you're out there, I love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see your basketball game. But I can't do 3 hours.
Yeah, it's hard to do for anybody, even somebody like me who has a lot of time. I shouldn't just sit here and say I have a lot of time, but I carve out a lot of time to play.
Right.
But I still have to look at that and go, well, I've got these projects that I'm trying to do stuff, and do I really want to spend 3 hours into something? And sometimes I just do, but I can't take that and go, well, I'm going to play, 32 teams, every single. That's just not. I'll be long gone before I can get that done. I mean, I've done a full season of baseball, all teams, 1986, 1977 twice. Or not, I didn't do that twice. I've done two times, 86 and 77, and they took 1.5 years to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It takes a long time, but again, that's baseball. I can't imagine and that's me doing 15-minute games. I cannot imagine 3 hour, 2 hour, even 1 hour games trying to get every team done. Now, maybe that works in a football if you're doing the Patriots, John Turnbull is doing the Patriots, and it's a 16-game season. Now you got 3 hours for each, blah, blah, blah. Hockey, 82 games, basketball, 82, baseball, 162. So anyway, how about for you, John, when you put these express games out, are you targeting like a certain audience or for them, or did you kind of like develop this, as we're hearing from a lot of developers on this show? You developed it for yourself and then pushed it out afterwards.
I developed it for myself, and at least the football game, the first one I put out, and I think it's true with all these other ones. Yes, time is a big deal. Another thing that I wanted to have is a smaller footprint than other games. You play a baseball game and you got 9 cards. You got one team, the other team, and you got your field, and you got your score sheet, and then you got and I wanted something that would fit on a little bit smaller footprint at the same time and still produce accurate stats. Now, I'll admit the football game went out earlier than I probably should have released it. I had to make some major changes and did a major pivot in it about a month after I released it. But as Brad alluded to, the community is very forgiving, at least if you're upfront and honest about what's going on. If I had a dime for every correction that I made to a set, I'd be retired by now too. But yeah, a smaller footprint is another thing I was looking forward to. Like, I'm a stickler for baseball, okay, but I don't like looking at 18 different charts, for a stolen base or an outfield throw, depending on who's on what base and how many outs there are, yada yada. So, this right here is one team for baseball for my new game.
Right.
Okay, sneak peek. Although, John, in full disclosure, and it is so funny, John, Brad doesn't know this, but he'll know here in a second here. If people go into some of John's old 1980s replay that he started, he actually used my game for his spring training, and not a single he even put the name of the game in some of the posts and stuff. Not a single person made any comment, at least that I've seen.
No.
It just went, over everybody's heads on that. But that's not the demeanor community. I mean, they're looking at the scores and what's happened along with everything else. But getting back on track here, a smaller footprint was definitely something, but I wanted something that's going to be a quicker playing game and still had produced the results that you would expect for, whatever game it is. And like John, like you were saying, the basketball game, that one you hate to have a favorite, because I like having a favorite kid. But the ebbs and flows that game produces back and forth is because you got the higher scoring environment, is unlike the other games that I have. So
it just felt, John, it just felt so, first of all, it was so fast compared to express games in my mind. And then what I was getting out of it, I was like, wow, I'm getting scores. I'm pretty sure it's been like a year or two now, but I was getting like rebounds, assists, different. I think we were getting different stats in there. Go ahead.
The basketball game was built. Those were points only.
Points only. Okay.
And so you're getting points only, and you've got a role for each segment of the game.
Right.
Whatever role that segment is corresponds to if it corresponds to a certain player, they have a certain number. Yeah. 2, 3, or 4 numbers, and if they match up with that number in that segment, they get the number of points scored in that segment. That's the only way for my game that could go, because you can't. I mean, in football, you can assign a touchdown. In hockey, you can assign a goal. In basketball, unless you're playing play-by-play, I can't assign every single point to a player after each segment, and that would take longer than the game would be itself. Yeah. But if you were to play out a whole season, those numbers are gonna average out. Let me Mike here is asking me what game that I develop. If you go on powderbluesports.com, you'll see all the games that are on there. Shameless plug. They do have everything that I have is free. So I have a link to my Google Drive, which has everything that I've developed, all the seasons, all the rules for all 4 games. And then I do have the opportunity for people to buy printed sets if they want to print something else on their own at home. I don't make a ton of money off of it, but I do sell printed stuff up. So powderbluesports.com is the website to see all my games that I've developed.
Yeah, what I found when I was using like all your games, because I had the football, I had the hockey. I beta tested, alpha tested your baseball. I found that kind of stuff really, really good for tournaments. Because we're all ads played, replayed guys, or we're trying to play. We've been talking about 162 game seasons, 82 game seasons. When I kind of found your games, I was in tournament mode, and I was like, wow, this is like perfect for tournaments. And I was able to get that stuff to really, I don't know, it just felt like I was in a tournament. I really felt like I was in a tournament.
Yeah,
with that thing, and I was able to actually get through them.
And not only that, I think my games, I think, are perfect companion games for if somebody wants to take one team and play their full season in a long format way, and then take all the rest of the schedule and just play them on the quick play.
Yeah,
you'll get through it a lot easier than what you would, doing what you've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brad, I didn't ask you this. I don't want to throw this out. Are you kind of an as played replay guy, or do you kind of find yourself in a hybrid middle, or where do you find yourself when it comes to tackling a new project?
I have never done a replay ever. Really? It doesn't work for me. I have not. I was thinking about the show, and I've never done one. I just prefer the what ifs, cross era or fictional. I like the game to surprise me. It's one of the things Mike and I were talking about the leap set. You don't really have. I mean, you can look at the cards and make some assumptions, but you don't really have any expectations of how they.
In front.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of know what you're going to get, but baseball happens when you're rolling those. So I've never done a replay. Part of it is on me because I don't. If I see a statistical outlier after 8 games, I start freaking out. Like, oh man, this guy's going to hit you. Yeah, that's stupid. I know it's stupid, but it's how my brain works. So I prefer the fictional. And I guess as Uncle Ron has told us, you roll the first dice, it's fictional anyway. But
very true.
I just focus on the what ifs. I like, as bad baseball. I really like bad baseball teams.
Okay.
Done several of those, and you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Eric Karros hits 40 homers, but he's never faced this many bad pitchers before. So
yeah,
it makes sense for him to hit 40 homers, even though he.
Do you do like seasons then, or do you do tournaments, or do you just kind of construct your own little hybrid world?
Is the answer yes? Short season. Ones I'm working on now are about 84 games for baseball. That's about my outer limit. It is. But again, it's fast or quick play. So
yeah.
Hey, Brad.
Yes.
Just to give you a little preview here, this is a cell phone screenshot, but the baseball game that I have put out, I don't know if you can see that, the 1899 Cleveland Spiders.
Oh, the Spiders.
Yep. So I made
an
1899 set made, so you can you start out with that one.
See if we can break the game, right?
Yeah,
well, I do have the 2024 White Sox too. So
yeah.
Clash of the Titans right there, waiting to happen.
and they can do cross-error play on mine too, so that'll be
cool.
You
Do
may
you have? I'm sorry to be ignorant, but do you have college sets for your baseline basketball?
Right now, the ones that I have, I've had the 2020 COVID set.
Okay.
And I do have 2024-25 tournament set, and I've got the 82-83 tournament set.
That's a good one. Okay, cool. It definitely sounds like something I want to look. It sounds a bit like a game. I don't know if either of you are familiar with it. Regular season basketball. Marco Waller. It's kind of.
No.
It's very similar to yours. It's segments, and you assign through the role. You assign points, rebounds, and assists. That way, it gets you some pretty. It's good for tournament mode,
Yeah.
Like that. But this sounds very similar to that.
Okay. So John, let's turn the discussion a little bit to AI. I know it's kind of a passion for me and you. I don't know, Brad, if you use AI in any of your work a little bit. Okay. So most gamers don't use AI as much as obviously some of the developers do. So, John, you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on AI as far as development goes? How you incorporate AI in Powder Blue Sports?
I haven't actually gotten into AI probably within the last 6 months, and actually, I've probably got you to thank for that. So,
or blame.
Hey, that's fine. It actually started with the boxing game that I started using it, and it's amazing. I had some issues with longevity of fights. What percentage of fights went the distance? So I figured out. I've Googled it and found it out. Found the number, found the range that I'm looking for. So then what I did is I already had the cards made. I already had my formulas done, and I didn't want to change that. I would much rather make a rule change than have to change something that would force me to put a brand new set of, change the whole card system. So I took the rule PDF, put it. I use Microsoft Copilot is the one I use the most. Put it into there. It read the rules, understood the rules, and then I said, okay, fight me X number of fights and tell me what the percentage of bouts that went the distance. And it did it. And it came about 8 to 10% low than what I wanted. So I'm like, how do I fix this? So the rule that I ended up with is if you're familiar with the boxing game, you roll, and if you see it's called a work rate number, and if you hit that number or below, then you get your chance to inflict damage on your opponent. Well, if you don't hit that number, then what I did is I added points to the boxer's endurance. So if the other boxer doesn't get a chance to do damage, that gives you and your body a chance to recover a little bit. So then I dialed in that extra number that I added in, and I asked AI, okay, if we added 5 points of endurance for when they don't hit the work rate roll, what's my percentage of fights that went the distance? And then I finally fine-tuned it, and the sweet spot seemed to be 7 points. So after that, things started going a lot smoothly, and I incorporated that into the rules. Another thing I used it for, and this is just to add a little bit more flavor and texture into the games that I've created. I've done it with football, and I've done it with basketball, and I'm about ready to do it with the hockey game. I had AI. I says, okay, for runs within 0 to 10 yards, create me 20 sentence radio style type scenarios, and it would list them out for me. And I did it did it for running and passing for different yardage lengths. So that way, if you've got a 35-yard touchdown pass, you can roll a D10 or a D20, go to the chart, and it'll tell you exactly how the play developed. So instead of just trying to figure out what happened, it can tell you that. The boxing one too, I did it with the boxing. give me 100 different knockout and TKO scenarios. I had it give me 100 different, or 80 or 100 different boxing venues. So you roll at the beginning of the fight to see exactly where the fight took place at. So those descriptors, the scripts for the play descriptions adds that much more flavor to it. And I did that with the basketball, and for the fictional game that I made, it created all the names for me, and it created all the positions, and it gave me position consistent heights and weights, so you don't have a 4'9", 85-pound center. So all that was all done with AI. So what I'm going to do with the hockey is I'm going to have it generate some regular goal, shorthanded goal, power play goal scenarios, play-by-play descriptions for what would happen on a certain goal. So it does help with kind of fine-tuning rules. It can quick play. AI can play your whole season for you, but what fun is that? You'd rather roll the dice. But it helped me out greatly as far as just adding another layer of fantasy into the gameplay.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Go ahead, Brad.
That's really cool because every 50-yard touchdown pass isn't the same.
Right.
It can be a bomb. It can be a screen pass with 55-yard jack. Yep.
Yeah. I think those redundant tasks, I created that softball game, and there were a lot of redundant tasks that I had to go through, and having AI keep kind of was like my dictionary. I don't know. I built a model for all my world, because I do this for work as well in my real life job. So I'm very familiar with AI, and I use a lot of different pieces of AI. But one of the things that I don't suggest anybody do this unless you create your own model at home, because you could get in trouble for letting proprietary information out. But one of the things that I don't like to do when I get a new game, or one of the things I don't look forward to, is learning it. Going through that rule book and going, okay, now I got to learn how to play this game, blah, 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 blah. I want to play and I want to keep playing. That's just me. I'm very impatient. That is my absolute worst quality about me, is I'm impatient.
What? You're what?
I'm impatient there, Brad. And I don't mean at a hospital inpatient. I mean impatient.
I ain't hearing that, man. I ain't hearing
that. And so what I did it was, with the approval of the vendor, I put in a brand new game that I did not want to learn. And I basically scanned in the rule book and handed it to my model and said, let's play a game together. Because to me, the quickest way I learn a game is to just start playing it, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't want to always go back to the rule book, and you can't know always when to go back to the rule book. So I played it with AI, and AI taught me like within minutes. Okay, you got to roll 3 dice. I said, let's start. Okay, roll 3 dice. Roll this color, this color, this color, and then tell me the result. And I told him the result. He came back and said, okay, this is what's going on. And then, okay, now you need to do this, and now you need to do this. And so I just literally played the game with AI, and that's how I learned it. And I picked it up really fast because of it. But I just don't. It's my impatience again that I just don't. Depending on the game, like if it's an exciting new baseball game or something, I'm going to learn all the details of it. But for me, as a gamer, having that ability to pop those rules in is a lot of fun, because then I just, instead of going to a board and a message board and say, I got this result, something weird, I ask my model, because I've already given it the rules. And so it's almost like using Control F, right? When you look up in PDF documents and you can quickly look up. I just ask AI, hey, I don't understand this, and AI will come back and generally tell me. Not always right, so you got to be careful with what you get back sometimes from AI. But and then I wanted to add one more thing that John said, and I wonder if I'm going to get a chuckle out of Brad on this one. You said you used AI, John, to help you create the boxing names. And And I wonder if our wonderful friend Keith used AI to do these freaking names, because I have no idea what he was thinking when he created this leap set, and the names he uses in this leap set
Well,
are driving me crazy.
Brad, the other day, well, it was about 3 days ago, he messaged me and says, "Were these guys on drugs when they made some of these names?" And the first one he sent me was Noel V. Marte, and I says, "No, that's a real name. He's on the Reds."
I did. That is a very true story. But at that point, I could probably sit here and look at some of these right now on my desk and go, what? I mean, it's okay to get some odd names, but I mean, like every single name, I'm just looking at them here. We got Oscar. Okay, that's normal. Jace. Tracy, but with a Tracy. And then we got some of them I can't even read because the way they did the cursive on these, it's so hard to. I got to put it right in front of my face or whatever. It somehow they put this cursive white at the top, and it's so hard to read it. Ethan and of course Jason. I got all normal names now, but they're just. I'm like, I wonder if he used AI and said, "Give me the craziest names you can give me," because this set has some really wild names to it.
I recommend you go to the 1961 Continental set. They're all Bill, Jim, and Bob, and you look them up. And quite frankly, they're all white guys who look alike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are no white guys in this set. Not that I'm being racial or anything on this. This is nuts. Some of these names, though, I just laugh on my butt. And then occasionally you'll get a Jim.
There you go. It's 2040. Things will change between now and 2040.
Oh boy!
Natural progression. It's okay.
But more what drove me nuts on this, and I talk to Mike about this all the time, is that white cursive. And this going. This is feedback for you, John, as a developer. Look at your cards before you put them out. There were several not big issues, but there's several issues with this set that. As a user, like that white, I can't really read it. You use cursive white at the top. Mike and I are going back and forth saying it's this name. No, he's like, no, I think it's this name. You can't even read the last name sometimes. You don't know if it's Lou or Lou with a U. I have to find it. Like here we go, right here. I don't know if that's NGO or NGU.
That's one of the things
because it's covered up.
But the play games are great. Although to me, those cards are too, at least for my taste, are too small.
Yeah.
My smallest card is a quarter page, card. And it's easy to read. And I got a half page for the hockey and I got a full page for the baseball. So I just prefer the larger, most of us are older and need that magnifying glass to look at stuff. So the other issue, and Mike didn't even see these. This is how bad the writing is on this, or how bad the presentation of this card set was. And I shouldn't be ragging it like that because I love this card set. I'm playing it. I think the colors, and I think yes, they're small, but overall it's a nice set. But he didn't even notice that there were two players that were hitters, pitchers and hitters. Because it has white on the one side here, and you can't even see the results because they're like blended in with the player, and so he didn't even see it in the set. He just had them as pictures until I mentioned it. I happened to be walking through it, so I'm just, as a developer, it's like I wonder sometimes. It's like, who did you have beta test this or alpha test this? Because I would have pulled this stuff out right away and been screaming at Keith going, there's several issues here with your set, your development for me, but maybe I'm, picky and impatient. So
I'm embarrassed to say what bothers me, but particularly in the fictional sets, you'll have a right-handed pitcher, but the image is a left-handed pitcher. And it just drives me nuts. It shouldn't, it doesn't matter, but frankly, if I'm using historic set, I know pretty much by the name whether the right or left. But with fictional sets, I have to think, wait, is he left hand? No, it's just a picture. So,
I first brought that up, Brad, on Kurt's 50-year set. They were all opposite. not opposite, but they, I mean, like many of them were wrong.
A number
And,
of them,
and
yeah.
I do. And so for his set, I know all those guys. I know every single one of those guys for the most part.
Right. Me too.
Um,
Me too.
but I don't know Jace Givens and which
Right.
side
No, that's
Jace
right.
Givens,
That's right.
you know. So yes, sometimes I could grab that thinking I'm bringing in a left-hander by looking at his picture, but he's actually a right-hander. Now, of course, it does say right on there he's right, and this is a great example because they've got him as a left-hander and he's a right-hander, and it's like, okay, you know, if all the pitchers were all left-handed, I'd say okay, you're using one image, but then the very next picture is a right-hander who throws left-handed.
And you
And
know,
it's
John,
like,
if that's on my mind, it's a pretty good day. That's the word.
yeah, if that's the worst part of the set,
That's right. We got
there's
a
a
darn good
reason.
set.
I always have to reset because people take things wrong sometimes. Here we
Sure.
are saying what's wrong with this set, but we're both
Right.
playing it. So
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
you know, so okay, so take that with a grain. I'm just saying how you.
I think it's a me thing, not a Keith thing. It's probably a me thing because it's bothered
No,
me
it's
more
not.
than it
It's not.
should.
What it is it's we want, and John, we all, you know, all of us always talk about this, is we all are still searching for the perfect game. And you know, and sometimes it's a little bit of a design that you're like, oh, why didn't they do this, or why did they do this, or it could be even something in a game. Like I know a lot of people complain when it comes to History Maker Baseball, they do not like the steal, you know, because basically unless you use some homebrew rules, you're only going to get automatic steals, and that's it. You know, there's no stealing, and so that, you know, it's kind of almost like APA's like that too, right? I mean, it's just you got to have that little asterisk, you don't get a stolen base, and you know, so everybody comes up with their home brews to make their favorite game is perfect for them, because perfection for Brad, even perfection for John, perfection for me are three different things. So that's why there's never going to be a perfect game, because you can't make it perfect for everybody. But I just what do you hear from feedback, John, as a developer with your games? I mean, I'm sure you hear a wide range of stuff. We all talk about how great the community is, but we also know that there are people out there, and there's passion. Passion sometimes gets in the way of people's attitudes, and people have bad days, or they have expectations that aren't met, and sometimes people go a little cranky. You know, not that Brad ever gets cranky, especially on his birthday. But John, what do you hear from out there from people?
I really can't say that I've come across somebody who all out rants, you know, without tact and just completely. Okay, I take that back. There was one person.
I told you, there's always one.
And I'm even stretching with this. There was one person. I'm not a technical writer. Okay, I'll be the first to admit it. There was one person who claimed that there was a certain page of rules that I had. I think it might have been for the empty net rules. And this person,
I remember that. Yes.
This rule page was the worst written page I have ever read in any game book.
Nice.
And I kind of took that as a compliment of sorts, but yeah, I
well, I say clearly it wasn't John, because he doesn't read the rule book, so it couldn't have been him.
I get plenty of feedback. You know, can you add this? Are you going to do this season? You know, how come you didn't do this? And I do my best to take the time to respond to every single person who contacts me. You know, it may be immediately, it may be 12 hours later, to explain why I've done what I've done, how it fits into the game, and how if I do something else other than that, then that kind of strays from what I want. But at the same time, my games are built simple enough to that there are plenty. I mean, if you look at my file section on some of these games, there are plenty of people who have made add-ons and rule changes and just different additions to it that make it easier to do. Case in point, Mike Gabriel from Family Football. He, in the beginning, when I did the football game, he gave me his permission to use his player finders because, and Al Wilson, the same thing. Both of those games had player finders. And I'm like, in the beginning, I was like, why do I need to do something that's already been done? But I also realize, and I'm starting to do it with mine, it's because you don't want to play my game and have to go dig out a player finder card from another season, from another game that you may not have. So now I've started to, play catch up with that. And I'll get to Mike's question here in just a second here. Mm-hmm. But Mike he has a ref ball option on his family football game. He came to me and says, hey, can I make one for your game? I said, sure. So, and any rule change, I say, you know what, if you want to do this, great, be my guest, write it up, put it in the file section. If people want to use that as an addition to my game, then so be it. But I haven't really come across anything negative. I mean, there are so many games out there now that and I don't mean this in a negative way, but if people don't like, my games are not going to be for everybody. And if you don't like my game, there's plenty of other games out there that will suit your taste. And I'm not going to take offense because I'm not, not everybody's going to play every single game that is out there.
And important to add too, I think it was S.T. Patrick who said that, feel free to mod away on the game, but then don't come to him complaining about your results being different. Yeah. I think he put it, I'm the Wizard of Oz. I know what's behind the curtain. It's built in there. You don't. It's okay to do it, but it will change the output of the game.
I think sorry, John, I want to add to that. What Brad said is a very important thing that I think is missed quite often. People will complain about results, and maybe not complain, but question maybe is a better word to use. They'll question the results they get in their own replay. And then as you dive deeper into the conversation that is happening on Facebook or Discord or wherever, you find out they had 16 mods going that they did. And it's, I just talked about one for stealing bases. If you change, the second you change Keith's game in History Maker Baseball and have some chart that you call your home brew, you can't talk to Keith or anybody else about the results, at least in that category. Let's say you're only using stolen bases, but the second you steal, and it isn't part of the behind the curtain John creating in his game, you've now potentially modified a lot, because now you put a runner on second that isn't really supposed to be there. You modify the ghost runner. Yeah, well, but I mean, like now you stole somebody. Now he's in scoring position, and a base hit might score him, but the game didn't put him there. Your mod put him there, and so now your runs may be higher than expected. Now your ERA of that pitcher may be higher than expected, or maybe got caught stealing and shouldn't have got caught stealing. Now the ERA is lower than the pitcher, and the runs scored are lower. So and I'm throwing all this out there because somebody just the other day, and poor guy, I felt so bad for him. He wrote something about the Hockey Blast Express being way too high scoring, and he got, because this is the way play is now become. It's kind of the new APA. You attack a play game, you're going to get attacked, and I don't think he meant to attack a game. He meant to say, I'm playing this game and it's really high scoring, and I think a lot of people might have took it the wrong way, but he got kind of attacked, and I felt bad for him. But come to find out, he, in this case, he wasn't using the modifiers that everybody's using to help only so many goals on a segment, which most people find out right away you have to do with Hockey Blast Express, or you're going to have 10 to 9 games. I wish it was something actually Keith would put into that game, because you have to have it, I believe. But anyway, the whole point being,
and it can even be, it could even be something of, maybe you don't choose to use injuries because you want to keep the guys on the field. Well, that's going to affect your long-term results, because they're playing more. Your bench guys aren't playing. I think I've heard discussions too, like, do I really bring in that reliever who pitched a lot of games and was lousy, do I want to bring him in this situation? Well, that's a decision to make. The game engine would suggest, yeah, you do bring him in. And
Yeah.
he's going to get lit up once in a while, but it's hard to do when you're in the middle of it.
Do you find
that war?
Do you find that when you're developing, John, something that's you have to take into consideration is trying to behind the curtain make sure everything works like that, or do you kind of want to just get it close and then let the community, as they're so great at, put the mods in that are important to them to make it work for them?
As far as making it accurate or representative?
Yeah, represent. My whole thing is replay over replicas. So if you're looking,
right.
You go watch Baseball Reference or YouTube videos. But representative, I think, is a great word.
My games are based on the formulas that I make based on the percentages of the different frequency of whether it's a touchdown pass or a 3-point shot or a shorthanded goal. All those are already predetermined, pre-calculated. And if you're going to roll 100,000 rolls, you're going to get that result. Case in point, that full season hockey replay that was done. I wish I had the stat in front of me, but I believe it was shorthanded goal opportunities that this replay was one off, and we're talking in the 1700s of opportunities. Jeez. And it was one off from real. And what I'll say, and I haven't, Mike, I'll get to you in just a second here.
No, I've got it ready to cue that up in here in a second.
Yeah, the replay over the replica over the fictional, and everybody, I've been hearing a lot lately about Ron, and what he says is perfectly true. As soon as you drop the dice, it's completely different. But if you think about it, the actual season of whatever game you are trying to roll for was actually a single series of dice rolls with those specific results happening that you will never, ever be able to replicate again.
Right. I mean, that's what makes
this happen in real life. I mean, but there's still, dice rolls that you can still get the same result from.
It's what makes this the most amazing hobby there is out there, because we're all telling stories, our own individual stories, I like what Brad said earlier. I think you took a little hybrid of what Uncle Ron said, but you quoted him. But when you said it's all fictional after you roll the dice, which is, I've heard him say it's your story the second that dice hits there. It's your unique story the second it hits there.
It's counterfactual. It's a counterfactual.
It really is, and it's like it's crazy. And but hey, John, so we don't lose that question of the YouTube. Do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Yeah. On my Powder Blue Sports page, there is a link to videos. I do have some select videos on each game. Or if you go to @PowderBlueSports on YouTube, there's a lot more videos there for instructions and some gameplay on there as well. So it's @PowderBlueSports.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in the gaming industry or the hobby. And I'm seeing, and Brad is all over this right now. I'm seeing not everybody, I can't use that. I'm seeing a big swing to fictional. And I'm seeing that big swing to fictional because for two reasons, I think. One, which is people are kind of done that, and I'm an as played guy for the most part, but you can only do so many of those, right? And it's just like, okay, I did another as played, and then I think the other reason is not that people are attacked, but it's like you feel like when you're playing. I mentioned this the other day in my 1980 baseball or 81. I'm sorry, baseball that I was doing. Rod Carew had 2 home runs in the first 2 games or whatever, and he had 2 the whole season. Now I got to like watch him the whole season to make sure he doesn't hit too many more, or is the integrity of my replay gone to crap? And I'm already 2 days in, and it's like, so those. But if Tracy Wilson hits 2 home runs on opening day, for Las Vegas, Okay, Tracy Wilson hit. I don't know if he's going to hit 20 or 50 or 10 or 2. I have no idea, and I have no expectation. And I think that story people like more. They don't feel like they're trying to tell a story of getting Wade Boggs close to 400, and that, even though that is a story, but you're chasing a number. Here, you're kind of. I think with fictional, you're chasing a story, and I think people are getting more into that. And I wonder, is that why you do it, Brad? And do you see that from all the people you talk to? What are your thoughts on fictional versus real players? Because you do a hybrid, you do both.
Yeah, and I have to. I'm new to this community, so I can't go too far back to say what had been happening. So it does seem like quite a few folks are doing some fictional things. I think it is what you allude to. Like I said, I want the game to surprise me once in a while, and it's going to surprise you if you have no expectations. I suppose. Um, as far as the integrity of the games, I that has always bothered me more than it should have, because again, it's fictional. What if Rod Carew hits 6 home runs, is that wrong? I don't think so. If he hits 30, then you're like, okay, maybe something's wrong with the game. Maybe something wrong with the way I'm playing the game. You do start to wonder that. There's an old story, if I can digress here a minute, that if you've got your lady with you and, good bottle of wine, nice meal, fire going, Barry White in the background, if nothing happens, it ain't Barry White's fault. So the problem with the game might be me. Maybe I'm playing it wrong, or maybe I'm not resting guys when I should, I think that's the attraction. The lack of expectation. Give me enough to create a narrative, and I think that's exactly what John was talking about in some of his AI work with his game. Let me tell you what happened, and how it happened, why it happened. And that's really what I need out of stats too. I just need enough stats out of a game to kind of let me know not only the result but how we got there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like John's game does a good job of that.
Yeah, I want to also add in, as you were talking through that and talking about the history, it kind of hit me too that fictional is also probably becoming popular because, well, quite honestly, you're not going to get a fictional league from APA. You're not going to get a fictional league from Strat. You're not going to get a fictional league from Status Pro. Never. I shouldn't say you're not going to. They don't have any that I know of, and never have put any out. But Play, again, this is becoming the Play show, but they started with those Baseball Americas and all these different sets, and it started to become a little bit more prevalent because it's just finally being offered as well. Who knows what we might have done back in the day? I mean, I don't think I would have, because I was really into the whole just real players in my hands kind of attitude. But it could also be because it's finally being released, and you got developers who are actually putting these kind of cards out.
And historically, I would kind of create my own fictional leagues, with the bench players. Did that quite a bit. Now that can open up a lot of can of worms too. You get really bad starting pitchers in there, but just use the bench guys and create leagues and teams and whatever. So that's sort of a fictional, I guess. But
yeah. So how about John? Do you do anything with? I know your game doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your games don't have fictional players, correct?
Yeah. Before I get into that, though, Rod Carew hit 14 home runs in 1977. So don't feel bad if he, he's got 92 career homers. So it's all good. And you need to take one of those cards in that leap set and rename it to Barry White. So, no, I put together a fictional. I do have a fictional set for football.
You do? Okay.
It's based on the old 12 drive system that I originally started with, so it's not really dialed into the game that I have out today. that works the way it does with the pros. But I do have the basketball, and I've got right now I got 4 fictional sets out, and they're all based on a point per game scored and allowed range between 95 and 115. When I went back through, it looked like most of the NBA seasons, your best and worst teams had about an average of 20 points per game swing. So I kind of used that as the baseline, took an average score over history, and then I took those points and I made an even set and an odd set. So you don't have a 95, a 96, a 97, a 98, kind of goes in either even or odd increments. And within each of those point values, I have 10 different variations based on the percentage of 3-point plays that you have. So you can have a team that scores 100 points that shoots a lot more 2s instead of 3s, or some that shoots, a lot of 3s and not a lot of 2s, like in today's game. So I do have different variations of those fictional sets based on how many 3s you want to have in your game. How many regulars, do you want it more toward the 70s play, or do you want it more like, today's game? And I had a guy come to me about 2 weeks ago and asked if I did high school. And that's something I'm going to be looking into. So I've got my own Buckeye basketball league, an 18 set for the pros set that I have, but I'm going to be looking into some high school scoring. I think it's going to have a wider swing than what the pros have. And I might grow, if I do go wider, if I go a 40-point swing on some of those, I may go 4-point increments instead of 2-point increments, but with a lot wider swing of point outcomes. But that's something I am looking into, is making a high school set, and that'll actually have a different segment gameplay, where the pros are 12 segments, the college is 10, the WNBA game is 8. So I need to do some research and find a timing and segment combination that will work with the high school game with fictional. But for me, with the basketball game more than the other ones, it's a lot easier for me to create the fictional sets with. Now, the boxing game that I do have in the file section. If you just go to box.rec, that's where I got all my boxing stats from. You can create your own boxers based on anybody, or you can just make up stats, make up records, put them into the spreadsheet, and come up with your own fictional boxers that way. So,
yeah, well, on the basketball game, we definitely have to have the debut of Jimmy Chitwood.
Brian Hoxie's got you covered on
that. Yeah, he's good doing that.
I was. And what brought this on was I was last couple of days. There's been some memes of Kurt Signetti's image placed over the coach for Hoosiers. I don't know if you've seen that yet. And I'm like, it's okay.
Coach
I went back. The Google machine let me down on this one. It could not give me the 1954 Indiana high school basketball stats. But I do know that one game ended in a 32-30 final score. So I'm like, I wonder if I could just take those two teams and make the that just stats just for that single game, so people can replay that Hoosiers game.
Yeah, I think they held the ball for like 6 minutes.
Oh yeah, there was no shot clock back then either.
And of course, Jimmy's not allowed to miss, so
And Mike, thank you.
Entire show, and that includes when he was out practicing. The guy never missed, right? I mean, in here just a shout out to Mike, who said he bought the drive time box set from you just now. Sounds like, or I don't know if he meant just now or he had it. But.
I can tell you. No, let's see. Yeah, when I get an order in, I get a alert. So I haven't gotten one yet. So
maybe he meant he bought it.
The process.
Yeah,
but if he bought it, so
I want to kind of wrap up a little bit, but I also want to get a kind of an idea because I love doing this because we have a developer and we have two gamers, Brad and I, And from Brad's perspective, when a game gets released and you hear it, if it's play, we all buy it. I've always said he could put out rock, paper, scissors, and we all end up buying it. But honestly, when a game goes out, because I said, my biggest anxiety over a new game is learning it. But for you, Brad, when you see, hey, this game got released and people are talking about it or whatever, what gets you to pull that trigger like it just did for Mike when he bought?
I guess, do I need it right now? That's part of it. I try not to. I just put together a bookcase this week because I've got to get the crap I own off the floor. So do I need it? But I'll usually wait a while, try to see some YouTube videos, people playing the game. That's a very compelling way to sell me. Let me you can the developer, John. I think that's the best way to learn a game. Watch the developer play it. We went through PayPal.
Yeah,
we're on the home shopping network here all of a sudden. What's going on here? Good for you, though, John. I'm happy for you. But yeah, I think that's a very compelling sales pitch to watch the designer play the game.
The designer, yes.
Yeah, and if I can give just a quick plug, that's why you go to conventions. If you haven't signed up for some of the conventions, I know ST's got one in Indy, Mike Canistrari and Dave Gardner and D2D, go to those. If you have any question about going, go. That's part of my story I didn't tell. Some of you have heard it. My wife pretty much made me go to play last year. She said, "You need to do this. These are people you would enjoy." Okay, but I'm probably coming home Thursday night. If I don't like it, I'm not going to stay out there. And the first people I encountered at the event were John Alexander and Micah Wimmer. And yet I stayed. I did stay, despite being the first. No, they were very, very welcoming, and we were kind of the three new guys. I think it was your first event, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
So I thought, well, okay, I see how this is going, the new guys. But we were just embraced by dinner that night. And I texted my wife and said, I ain't coming home. This is great. So, I really would urge you to sign up for those events. I have not been to either, but I know the folks putting them on, and John, you know them as well. And John Turnbull, I don't know if you're going to be at any of those events, hopefully so, but it's just a great way to get together and share ideas and realize that you're not the only person playing these games.
Well, and I think going back to exactly what you said there, Brad, I think you were there when I played the college football with ST. I don't know.
Yeah, we did it together, maybe even.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he just had that game laid out on that table.
Absolutely.
And he was like, okay, who wants to do a quarter? And it was just to be able to play again, as I just said, I don't really want to read the rule book. He was like, screw the rule book. He's like, here's how you play.
Yeah.
And for me, that was perfect. So what did I do? I went and bought his whole freaking line. I mean, I had ST put out. And I as well, very excited to see his college basketball game that he has coming out.
Yeah.
He talked so much about it at that play convention. And I know he's put a ton of time into that thing.
His games are very well researched.
Very well. And I will be at Indy. So I'll be there. I already got my stuff set up. I'm going to be there. John, are you going to Indy? Is that because you're not very far from it in Dayton?
Yeah, I'll be at IndyCon, and I'll be debuting the baseball game there. And
nice.
I'll also be at Canton this year, also in August.
Oh, for the APA football.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to go to that because that's my old stomping grounds. I'm Cleveland, originally from there. So, and I've been to the Hall of Fame a million times. But I'll quickly tell a great story, a fun time that I had. This was back when it was fantasy baseball, and I was in the military, and it wasn't as much. To me, it's this little hybrid thing that kind of happened. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this type of thing. And I forget the name of the game, but it's the real players. It was baseball, first of all, and it's like how you have these leagues where, like for fantasy baseball, where you have these leagues and they're keeper leagues, right? This is so much different. It's called Score Sheet. It just came out of nowhere to me.
Oh, I used to love score sheet baseball. I was in those for many years.
Yes, Score Sheet hit me. So, Brad, what this is and correct me where I'm wrong, John, but it's been a while. I think I might want to get back into that. So if it's still out there, what they do is
it is.
Is it still out there? So what you do is you draft a team, okay? Mm-hmm. Much like you would have a team from this, from a board game, so you have I think I like a 25-man roster. It's a real thing. You have your starting pitchers, you have your relief pitchers, everything, just like you would have from a board game. And so what happens that week in baseball affects, and you play games, like you might play John's team or you might play my team that week. You'd have 5-6 games scheduled that week. And in the mail would come your little stapled 6 sheets of paper. Stapled over, right, John?
It's Christmas Day every week.
Every week it felt like Christmas. That puppy coming in. And it was like, okay, I went 3-3 this week, or I went 6-0, and your pitchers had records. Tom Seaver's now 15-5. You played 162 game schedule.
Yeah, and those games the stats were taken strictly off of what your players did that week.
So if your player didn't play that week, he didn't play for you that week. And if he stunk that week, it didn't guarantee he would stink, if I remember correctly, John, but 80% of the time he stunk. He may do a little bit better, and sometimes just because he had a monster week didn't mean he was going to have a monster week for you. But think about how these games work. It felt like it was like these games where just because you're a home run king doesn't mean you're going to hit 45 home runs. You have the ability to hit a 40 over the guy who's a scrapper. But that's how that game worked, Brad. And where I was going with all that to tie that up together was, and John, since you know Score Sheet, we had our draft at the Hall of Fame, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it was an overnight thing, and it was so much fun. And that was kind of, if you want to say, that was my first convention or feeling that I was going to, we were 20 guys I had never met before in a big baseball league. But it was so much fun. And we were inside the Hall of Fame. We had, before they'd done the Apple ones at all, this was back in Score Sheet days, but it was just so much fun. But the whole point to all that is going to these things is just so different, and you just meet people, and there's nothing like that face to face. And and Brad, I shouldn't say we barely, but when we weren't in something in the play convention, a scheduled event, we were just all talking football, baseball, basketball, family, whatever. It wasn't like we were just sitting there talking about play games the whole time we were there. It was just, we were talking ST's game, or we're just, we're all getting to know each other and what our backgrounds are and what we like and stuff. So to me, I agree with you. If you've never been to any of these conventions, it changes your kind of setup, and you hear how people play, because you can talk about, what are your home rules? What do you do that's different? I ran into that, or that game didn't work for me. Well, it didn't work for me until I put this kind of homebrew in. And people were, how many times did we see, Brad, people were showing what they do? They had their laptops, or they actually popped out. We had those people, somebody pulled out, like, it wasn't a horse racing game, but it was something, cricket. They had the cricket game out when I don't know if you were there. I don't know if you were there for the, when we went to that card shop place. Did you go?
I got there right at the end. I pulled into town. Yeah, and I was probably there 10 minutes.
You were in that card shop?
Yeah.
Okay. That's where they pulled out the cricket game.
Okay.
It was in that card shop. And I'm watching them play cricket. Some game, it wasn't play, but I was like, oh, that looks really interesting. I watched them play cricket. So it's something you'll never see unless maybe you go on YouTube and try and find it. But, to see those kind of things face to face and the interaction ability. No, I don't want to interrupt somebody playing a game, but most of those people were like, sit down and watch us. How many times do we see people just standing around everyone, watching them play, trying to learn how to play, trying to pick it up? You had the red, white, and blue racing that was going on all over the place, and people learning how to play that. And it just made it really interesting.
And not only that, you got developers that are there too that you could actually learn from firsthand.
That's the best of all, by far.
Yeah.
And I wish that Keith, because I know that he's stressed tremendously trying to put that play thing together. And I've never been to a convention that Keith was at that wasn't his. But I think Keith serves better by just being able to walk around, first off, not being stressed on what's going on with this, trying to put a conference together, make everybody happy.
A lot of work.
A crap ton of work. And he had, 3 or 4 people helping him do it. But I would love to just be able to, I didn't even want to, I felt horrible if I even asked him a question, just because I felt he was just so dang busy. I would love to just hang out and, talk to Keith about his stuff. But anyway, that John, you're right. It's just having ST seemed like he was having the time of his life with that thing. And just, because he didn't have to run it, he just kind of walked around and talked to people. And it made those conventions really nice. The last question I'll throw at both of you. Are there enough conventions? Either one of you can jump.
I think so. Geographically, maybe there. I'm sorry, John. Geographically, maybe there needs to be something, more westerly for them, for those folks. But
I think there's something that we talked about, John, is not only the conventions. You can have little meetup groups like Joe Cards does with his Staten Island and Florida group. I think there's enough people within a 30-mile radius where I live at that could get together once every couple months. You're probably going to see more of those pop up, the little small meetup groups, because the community is saturating so much, and once everybody figures out who lives close to where, that could easily lead to to more smaller meetups than an annual thing. So
yeah, I think the reason I throw that out there is we're kind of down to Digital Dice, IndyCon, and the APA in Canton, because Keith has killed the play. So from as you said, Brad, regional wise, you got to go to the East Coast for the most part, to especially Eastern time zone, at least, to get to the Keith proved that people will come west. If you build it, they will come. He built it, and I don't know that there was I don't know how many people were at the Apple one, but I don't know that Keith. There've been people that I know Digital Dice didn't beat the amount of people, or Play had more than any place I've ever seen, and that required besides Keith and I, and Brad, you being a little bit close to here this way. Most of the people came from the East Coast in that.
Midwest, yeah, there was quite a Midwest, upper Midwest.
Yeah, there was a lot of Midwest. Yeah, there was a lot of Ohio and Wisconsin and that kind of thing. So Minnesota, I'm just thinking, I still think that there's even if Keith brings back Play in Denver, I feel like there's. What I'm not seeing, and we talk about how this gaming community is growing, but I don't see people, because I always like to ask people where they're from. I don't see the West Coasters. I can't sit here and tell you anybody from Seattle. I can't tell you anybody from Los Angeles, which is crazy that there isn't someone. I mean, sure there is, but I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I think Seattle was in the house at least. But,
what's
Mr. Turnbull? I think we're hearing the rumblings of Alexander Khan.
We might be.
Go for it, man.
Might be, Brad. I'm going to ask you to run it all so I can go around and have fun. You run it, Brad. What do you think?
We'll have it in Olathe, Kansas.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It'd be fun. I just think there's got to be something on the West Coast. And with Keith pulling out now, and I don't know how long Keith's pulling out for, I really do think that we're still missing one. I think we're missing a good one. That there was my whole pitch to Dave Gardner when I told him a long time ago that he had to do one, which he finally did do, Digital Dice. My whole point back then, because Play wasn't even doing this at that time, was you got to have a conference where anybody can pull out their game and show it and play it and do whatever. You get these APA things, they're APA. Strat. And I know that those are easing up as well now into, I think APA opened up to any football game the last time at this last one. So they had, ST was showing off his game there and stuff. So I think it's happening, but I think, one of the things I really would love to see is just to grow, get more people. There's got to be people on the West Coast playing. This can't just be an East Midwest game. I think that if we can grow it to the West a little bit more, I think we should. So I am absolutely considering Brad putting something together. Something.
Yeah, I've heard it said as well, and I think rightly so. This hobby is way bigger than we think it is, because not everyone who are schmucks like us on here talking them all the time. They're just out there playing their games, and maybe I didn't know there was this community at all. Stumbled onto it. Wow, well, it's not for everyone.
Yeah. So I keep saying last question, but I'm just going to wrap it up with the last thing that I always ask, which is, where do you want to see things go from here? Do you want it to stay steady the way it is right now? It's doing great, or is there something that you would like to see the gaming and this hobby move toward? I'll start with you, John.
Probably just more exposure. I mean, we've got your podcast is ramping up to be a steady one in the community. And I think Vinny's going to be starting one here pretty soon. And I mentioned to you offline too, that I think we need more, people who aren't afraid to stream, either just to see the games being played, or just to discuss different topics in the community. And I think that'll do nothing but get more people out there. Now, I know there was a big talk months back about getting, how do we keep the community growing? And a lot of it was making sure the younger generation knows about these games. Now, that's all fine and good, but I think what we're seeing too is we got to capture the 45 to 55-year-olds who are now starting to get that extra time that used to play back when they were kids, and let them know that this still exists. And
it's a good point.
That demographic ramped up as well.
That's a great point, because everybody that I've talked to on this, and Brad pretty much echoed this when he first came on and was talking about how he got started. We all have that, as Brad said, we all have that same similar story. We played this game as a kid. We had life happen. And then I came back to it all. And then, like Brad said, I found it a couple of years ago, this online community. But what about all the people who haven't found it, as Brad keeps saying, and I think you're right. We have to find those people too, which is where I think there's a ton of them out west, is what I think. We just have to find them. I don't know why I'm not personally seeing them. So I'm excited to see that. How about you, Brad? What do you want to see from the hobby as we move forward in your wonderful retirement 65 loving year? What are you looking for?
The 66 years, what I'm looking for. I think probably can only echo what's already been said. I think the cards and dice aspect is something that we tend to age into. By and large, it does take a little more time. I know I've heard some folks who got back to cards and dice because, all they do all day is, work at a computer. And this is something I think young Mr. Wimmer is one who said that very thing. I don't want to sit at a computer and do this. Yeah. I want to have that tactile experience, writing down in my scorebook what happened. I think, not so long ago, Keith referred to this as the golden age of gaming, and the best is yet to come. I think that is true. We grew up in a time where, okay, you want to play baseball, it's this one or this one. Now there just seems to be an endless number and a growing number of options out there. Let's play baseball this way, or play Dreslock. So what about this?
Clay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, does some great things. Yeah, and I think what we can do as a community is take a tip from the developers, because when you go to these conventions, there is no territorialism like, no, you got to look at my game. They're playing each other's games. They're talking. They're sharing ideas. I think we need to do that as a community, and I think we're starting to see that. respectful discussions. Are you slamming Keith's games? No, you're just saying I'd like to see this better. Same with me. I love SD's game. This doesn't work for me, but that's okay. Something else he does will work for me. And I think as we get this, I won't call it a proliferation because there's not enough of us to proliferate anything, but of the new talk shows, new podcasts, new discussion groups, I think it's great. We need to keep it respectful, but I think it's just an endless trove of ideas that we can share with each other because there are nice people in this community and tremendously creative people in this community. Their imaginations they blow me away. So I'm excited about the future.
All great points, Brad. It's all great points. Both of you with I think that the more we get the normalization of playing cards and dice games, that there are so many people out there doing it, and we present that on these type of channels and on YouTube and watching somebody play, elite baseball game. I remember when I first got to all this, I'm like, why would anybody want to spend their time watching somebody else play a game when they could just play it themselves? But never that was honestly, it was my first thought. Then I don't know if I'd love to give credit to the right person. I don't want to give it to the wrong person, but I'm pretty sure it was Ron who said it's not about watching them play as much as it is learning how they play and learning new things from them as they play. And then sometimes it's even just having them on in the background.
Yep.
So that you have, because it becomes like part of your world. And of course we can all sit and listen to Ron in the background and listen to him call a game all day long. Because he's got that voice, that amazing voice of Ron's. But yeah, I think that the more we normalize all this, and I don't want to say like we're all doing something wrong, but there's always this like, am I the only guy doing this? We've all said that. We felt like, wow, am I just playing a game by it? And then, Brad, you come in and you find out there's a whole community of 3,000 people doing it. And it's like, and that's what I mean by the normalization.
That we know of, 3,000 that we know of.
Exactly. And I think if we can continue, I just think it's going to continue to grow because like every day it just seems like somebody new is posting somewhere. And
if I can add something about when you're watching somebody else play, let's just say I'm playing or watching somebody play payoff pitch. I may not have that season. I've got the game and I've only got like one season. Well, they get to play it for me and I get to watch it through them. So I may not even need to have that season, but I'm watching somebody else play another game or a season that I don't have. Yeah. And I can, play the game and watch it through them. And as if you're actually you still get that mental stimulus of having played that game and in some respects by actually watching somebody else do it.
And John too, if you worry about us watching people play, sometime go down the YouTube rabbit hole of people watching other people eat and commenting.
Oh no. I watch people mow yards. So I'm
okay. That's pretty good.
Wow. Okay. No, but
it's cathartic. It really is.
And I think I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm almost positive this is why we don't see a lot of it. You get Ron. He has a consistent one. He does twice a week that he plays. I don't think we see people do it because they're scared their way is wrong. They're missing something, and they don't want to be criticized for it. And we all know that, as we've said before, this is a great community. And yes, I was playing, just I'm going to add this in because this actually happened to me. I was playing Status Pro Advanced and I was playing it wrong. And Derek, who puts the game out, DM'd me and said, you're doing this part wrong. I don't even remember what it was. It was something very small, but I did it wrong. And he was very nice about it and said, this is the way you're supposed to do that. I think it was this. I was using the clutch defense wrong. And he was like, no, you got to do it this way. And I was like, I didn't know it was supposed to be played that way. So, I was like, well, that's cool. So I just change and keep playing. But I think that is some reason we don't see that many people doing it, is they're just worried that maybe they're doing it wrong. And I think like Dave Gardner, every time he plays a game, he says something in the beginning, he asterisks the hell out of it and says, this is the way I play. This is my home rules, Well, he kind of lays that out ahead of time, just in case, or he'll say, because it's gutsy. What Dave does a lot of times is very gutsy. He will grab a brand new game, throw it on his tabletop and play it in front of everybody. Wrong or right, he just plays it, and that's gutsy. And I think we need more of that. I think that's what you're alluding to, John, is to get more of that out there and more people playing. There's, in fact, I just had a guy today say, I can't find any primetime hoops games, a playthrough out there. And I, of course, when I think basketball, I immediately go to Rod Hess, and he's got a massive amount of basketball games. Great. He also does a fantastic job on his channel, and so shout out to you, Rod. I learned a lot about basketball, different games from him. But I think there's not enough of those guys. We need more. And we got to find those people who have the time, because it's a time consuming. It's a technical piece that you got to be able to do.
It is a bit of a technical piece. That's right.
And then, oh my God, the time piece is amazing to put together, that. And then there's, again, just the guts to put yourself out there and play a game. And maybe you're playing it wrong. Who the heck cares? It's your story. As Brad said, that dice hits the ground. Even if you're playing it wrong, it's still your story, And so I think we got, we are at the baby stage, in my opinion, of where we're going to be in 5 years. We're going to look back on this and go, oh my God, look where we grew to. Look at how many developers we have now. Look at all the games we have. Look at all the sports we have. Look at all the new creative things we have. As Brad said, some amazing minds out there that come up with stuff that you just go, what the heck? And we got all these express games for people who didn't have time. And I think that may be bringing more people in who didn't have time to play a 2-hour hockey game or even a 30-minute baseball game, as you said, Brad, and they just want to they have 15 minutes set for on a Saturday. They want an express game. All these things that John's creating for us in the gaming industry, and guys like John, I think is going to make this explode more and more and more. So I'm extremely excited to see where this is all going to go. And John, I can't tell you how much, on behalf of the community, we appreciate the work you do and the stuff that you put out there. It does mean a lot to a lot of people. And because this is, without you guys like John and Keith and the rest of you, we're not even having this show. Brad and I are just, celebrating his birthday at a bar somewhere.
Let me tell you one story before we go.
Which?
I had a I want to say subscriber, I guess, I don't know, patron or somebody who's played my games several months ago wrote me and expressed that my games helped him get through cancer treatment.
Oh, Jesus.
And that in and of itself, no matter how many games I've created or seasons and stuff, just that one response to me made it all worthwhile. So
that is so true. I had a stroke a year and a half. Well, I guess it's going to be 2 years in April. It's ended up being minor. But the gaming kept me concentrated, at times. And yeah, I just think that means a lot. That's why I say it means more than maybe you do realize a little bit of it with a story like that comes to you. I don't think there's enough of those stories out there. But it does. I had a whole show on mental health and how these games sometimes help us escape whatever's going on and allow us to go into our worlds and our universes I forgot who said that. Marco, I think, called it a universe. Let's escape to our universes and get away from things. And so without guys like you, we don't escape to that. I don't know. We play video games. I don't know. But there's a huge appreciation for it. And we really like it. So again, I want to thank both of you for coming on. Great ideas, comments, suggestions, just a great talk once again, and really appreciate it a lot for you guys coming on. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks everyone who joined us.
Nice job hosting it as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. All right. Have a great one, guys.
And happy birthday.
And happy
Thank you.
birthday. Everyone now sing happy birthday
To
to
you.
you. All right, guys.
You
We'll see you
know,
later.
I woke up north of the dirt, so it's a good day.
Oh my God, that was
Thanks, everybody.
bye.
Enjoy.